Every spring, we see the fancy hats of the Kentucky Derby. You know, those hats just aren't for the races, they're becoming big business, selling for hundreds, sometimes thousands of dollars. Today, I got to sit down with Zoya Egan and Kathleen Kenneally of Fashion at the Races and Zoya Egan Millinery to delve into the business of those hats, fascinators, perchers, and hatnators on and off the track. Now, let's get to business. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Tatiana Ryann, and I am here today with two of the most fashionable women that I know in horse racing, Kathleen Kenneally and Zoya Egan. How are you ladies today?
Great. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. I am wonderful. Zoya, I have to go with you first because you are not only a milliner, you've just gotten into horse racing itself, but you started out as a milliner, which is the person that makes these fancy hats that everybody sees. Go into your background with that a little bit and tell people who you are.
All right. Well, I would say roughly 10 years ago, I made my very first hat by accident. I was invited to a local event, race, Redner Hunt. 8-9 years ago, and I was told to wear a hat, so I had to make one. And it was such a big success that I won the first place for the best hat, and I decided to give it a try. And a few years later, I decided to continue my education, to get a formal education. So I went to London, and I had an extensive training with one of the best milliners in the world. And I liked it so much that I went several times. Then I took classes from other milliners all over the world, online classes in person. And here I am now.
Now, you have made some of the most beautiful hats that I have ever seen. What was your favorite event to create hats for?
The favorite event, I will just have to say that it would be a hat for someone else, because everything that I create for myself is always last minute. Like the night before.
That's true.
And you just like in a hurry and you don't think about the aesthetics and you don't think about the code and protocol. You're just making yourself a hat because you need one by 9 o'clock. Mm-hmm. So that's obviously not the hats that I wore. I would say that the hat that won Devon Horse Show last year, it's one of my favorite ones. I like working with that material. I like the style. The girl who won, she wore it beautifully. So that's probably is one of my favorites.
Now, working with all of these bigger events like Kentucky Derby, like the Preakness, like the Triple Crown, the Belmont and everything, when do you start getting orders for people to get these hats done? Because you've got a timeline. These hats don't take overnight to make.
No, and that's a great point, and I'm glad you asked that question. The majority of women calling me literally a week before the event. Unlike Kathleen, who is contacting me 8 months in advance, which of course I like the best because I have time. I can look at what you're wearing. If we're picking the fabrics, if someone is being made like a custom made dress, it's a lot easier for me and for the client to come up with the best product. So I would say I need at least a month in advance. Mm-hmm. If it's more than that, it's even better. So don't hesitate contacting me 6 months prior the event.
Right. So this is a big event. So you should plan way ahead to have your outfit completely done. Now go into the differences between different events also, because the kind of hat you wear to Kentucky Derby, you may not wear to Royal Ascot in London, where they wear top hats and fascinators, and people don't quite understand the difference between a fascinator and a hat. Go into that.
Okay. So basically the hat is something that has a brim and it has a crown. So it's the hat, the way a lot of people understand what that is, something that you wear to the beach, but a little fancier. A fascinator is something that is usually smaller. It can be a huge fascinator, but then there is a different name for that. But it's usually slanted on the side. It can be placed right on your forehead. There's a different name for that. We call that perchers. So, but basically, I brought a few to, so that would be considered a fascinator. So you see, it's not a hat. It doesn't have a brim. It doesn't have a crown. It's something smaller on my side. They usually stay on your head on a headband. So that's basically the main difference between the fascinator and the hat.
Okay, so fascinator, hats, perchers, there are all different names for these that people have to learn. What's that? Saucers? Yeah.
Saucers. There's also, what's that name, Kathleen? Not fascinators. It's a hatinator.
Hatinator. Yeah. So it's a cross between a hat and a fascinator. Yeah. So
Gotta
it needs
all the lingo.
something to attach it to your head. It can't just sit on your head like a hat. You just throw it on. Fascinators and hatinators do need to have some way to attach it because they often look like they're suspended in air, just magically appearing.
Okay, I have a big hat that actually has a rubber band that goes all the way around the back of my head.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm getting new lingo here too. So, all right. So you guys have both been judged by some of the biggest fashion media personalities like Carson Kressley when you go to a fashion event at a horse equestrian event. What are they looking for and what makes that race day outfit really stand out for the judges?
I'll start, but then I'll say Kathleen would have a better opinion because she's been judged by hundreds of different judges. I would say in general, the judges are looking for the cohesiveness, right? Everything has to be tied in. If you're wearing a fall-ish colors dress and the summer-ish dress, hat or fascinator, it's out of balance. So they want to see the whole look tied in together. The colors, the style, it should be appropriate to the season. You're not wearing winter dress and a summer hat or vice versa. So that's what they're looking in general. But then there's also personal preferences. One judge might like pastel colors. Some other judge might say, oh no, I like bright colors. So you never know who is going to outweigh the rest of the panel. And that's the biggest problem.
Okay.
It's hard to predict. It's very hard to predict with judges that are constantly changing. And to Zoya's point, I've often noticed that one of the winners or many of the winners will be dressed very similar to one or two of the judges, like bright colors or pastels. When jumpsuits came back, it was like, oh, the judge is wearing a jumpsuit, who in the crowd is wearing a jumpsuit. So that can definitely, their own personal taste will definitely have a strong influence. And I think also, like Zoya mentioned, cohesive look, and I think matching perfectly identically. If you're putting on your hat and you say, oh, it's close enough, then you haven't found the right hat yet. You have to keep looking or change the dress. It has to be exactly the same yellow, exactly the same pink.
Now, do you think this goes with the trends too, with, judges that, especially now, bringing in influencers that are out there that have these mass followings, but maybe not so much in the fashion world?
I believe that the influencers are great. If you happen to be an influencer in a fashion industry, of course, you are oriented that way. So you know what to look for. But if you're an influencer in restaurants or the window installations, or you happen to be a football player. I'm not saying that those people don't know what fashion is all about, but you would like to have someone who at least is familiar with the protocol or etiquette that goes along with the horse racing events. And in more cases than I would like to say, those people have no idea what the protocol is all about.
Well, that's what leads me into my next question for Kathleen, because as Zoya said, you've done hundreds of these and you've been internationally known, with your fashion, and you always have like that quirky little thing that catches somebody's eye. Like, yeah,
absolutely. I mean, bordering on silly, but I've often found you're going into a competition. We'll use Kentucky Oaks as an example. You're lining up with 300 women and every woman is wearing pink, different shades of pink, but we're all wearing pink. How could you possibly stand out to the judges or have something that would make them remember you if you don't have something quirky to your outfit or something very dramatic to your dress, like a big train or a big puff sleeve, so that even for the judges, they can write down, oh, the girl with the big puff sleeves or the train on the dress. You need something to stand out and help them remember. I personally love quirky handbags. I do get a lot of Kate Spade bags and Lulu Guinness. A lot of them shaped like hearts, shaped like a kiss. It seems to be helpful. And it's a lot of fun. You meet a lot of people through that. Throughout the day, men, women, children, everyone will come up and say, where did you find that crazy handbag? So it's
a great conversation starter. You know, it's absolutely. Like, I have this weird bag or this quirky outfit, or like you said, a train where, somebody may jibe you a little bit, but
I can take the jabs.
Yeah.
It's worth it. It's a lot of fun. And I think it's also just nice to, a way of saying I'm not taking myself and this too seriously. It is, after all, just a really great event, a great party, and a fun day out. So,
well, it's a huge party that, everybody's there drinking, everybody's there eating, everybody's there, watching these beautiful horses run that have worked so hard throughout the year. And celebrating these business owners that get involved in horse racing to keep these traditions going.
Very big business.
Zoya, congratulations on recently acquiring Fashion at the Races from the lovely and fashionable herself, Brie Mott. What direction do you want to be taking Fashion at the Races?
Of course, it had changed since I took over, because when I took over a month later, the lockdown happened and the blog and the whole thing attached to it stayed dormant for basically 2 years. So I decided to change the directions a little bit. I would like to make it more educational. Of course, everyone would like to see pictures, and obviously it's still going to happen, articles, posts, but educational more, teaching women that when you attend a huge event, please make sure that you do not buy a Lily Pulitzer dress because it's not going to stand out. It's not going to be memorable. And then don't get upset that you were not photographed. It's a highly photographed events.
Very much so.
Right? Like 150,000 people attending Kentucky Derby.
Right.
So don't be upset. Don't call me and say I was not picked. I was not photographed. No one expressed any interest in me.
Right.
Maybe we should do something else next time. So just think that if you are spending a lot of money attending those races, please think in advance, pick a right dress. Don't hesitate to ask people like Kathleen, who attended probably a couple hundred races all over the world. Ask them for advice. What do you think I should wear? What do you think will stand out? So I would like to take that approach with Fashion at the Races and just even introduce the protocol for women who attend the events and they have no idea that your midriffs are not supposed to be shown. Your certain parts of your body are not supposed to be seen. They don't even know that protocols such like that even exists. I have to be honest, I didn't know about it. I thought that you can wear whatever you want. Well, apparently not.
Right. Well, now you brought up a really good point about the pandemic and how everything kind of shut down. And now we're just kind of getting back into the swing of doing everything. Do you think this will help people, especially women, in just their regular professional lives too? Like people have been bumming around in sweatpants or leggings and stuff like that. And now having to go back into the office, it's like, oh my God, what do I wear? Do you think this blog will help them out there also?
I hope so.
I sincerely hope so. I just don't think that anyone would forget in 2 years what to wear to the office.
Right.
You'd be surprised.
And plus we have this we have a new generation that's, getting back out into the work world that wasn't in the work world before.
Yeah.
So they're not,
they very, very, very casual. I work in a building with several hundred people, a lot of young people. And I mean, they're wearing what I would wear to the movies coming to work. And I think it's fine if you want to come in and stay in your position. But I think the people that I've noticed move up in this firm and others are the ones that look completely dedicated to it, and that the boss can be getting on a plane and tell someone to take a meeting for them and know that they're already going to be dressed professionally and not have to worry about that. So I think it's important, and I think it does carry through the rest of your life if you start to get involved in it with the races.
Right. And that leads into my next question perfectly. Like, you bring your vast marketing and fashion experience from fashion to fashion at the races, but from your work world. How do you keep up with all of these different, outside ideologies coming in? And, like you just said, people coming in to work dressed like they're ready to go to the movies when they should be a little bit more professional.
Yeah, definitely.
How do you deal with that, and how you deal with social media also?
I really love watching all of the summers and spring, summer, fall collections that come out on the runway. So I kind of look to them constantly, but then I come back and also look on social media on different websites for the actual race courses. I'll look at Royal Ascot. They have a lookbook that comes out every year, and you get a sense of the style and where things are going. Is it, for a while, large giant hats will be very much in vogue, and then tiny fascinators will be in vogue. And just keeping an eye out for that and who is winning in the major races around the world. I think Australian race style is very, very heavily influential on the rest of the world. England is, of course, and I personally go more towards the Irish style, not just because I grew up there, but I do think that they interpret that very flamboyant, exotic Australian style and kind of taper it down a little bit to a look that you could wear to someone's wedding as well, and not look like you're trying to upstage the bride. It's just it's more subtle and more elegant, I think. So really just keeping an eye on what everyone is doing everywhere.
Okay. Yeah. You had mentioned Australia being kind of like a leader, like their fashion judging is a lot different. Their prizes are a lot different. Go into a little bit about that with, like, especially Ireland. Their prizes are way different.
Well, both in Ireland and Australia, the prizes are much larger. You could go to a race and come away with $10,000 or a car. In the United States, it's not quite as generous. And I think that does influence how much women are willing to put in to their effort for the races. They don't think it's worth their time to spend hundreds of dollars on a hat they may wear once. I think if they saw some similar prizes, and I think they'd be more inspired to go a little further with their outfit. And like I do, and a lot of my friends do, start planning 6 months ahead, 8 months ahead. It's never too early to start planning that early to get something that really does match and make a cohesive look.
That's very interesting. I mean, like, the prizes are not cheap. Let's clarify that. They'll usually give away a Longines watch, and a lot of the inspiration with Longines is very equestrian oriented from all the races, from, and every single facet with, not just horse racing, but dressage and jumping and everything else. So it's very interesting to see the differences between United States and other countries, as you said, Australia and Ireland and England. But Zoya, let's go back to you with the actual hat making. What other events have you done besides equestrian?
I would say the two biggest next to horse racing events would be christening and weddings. So the ceremonies at the church, more and more women asking me for hats, and I am thrilled that's happening, because I would like to see more and more hats worn every day. Well, not every day, but for appropriate occasion. So these are the two biggest ones that I could mention that come to my mind right away.
Now, do you think it's becoming a little more in vogue because of like the royal family being so media driven and, you know, what they're doing with the churches and, you know, it's very pomp and circumstance and, you know, very clean cut and everything. Do you think you're getting a little bit more of that influx?
I think so. And I actually want to say that, yes, in the last 2 years, I am almost 100% sure that it's thank you, the younger generation that follow social media, because they are more into watching TikTok, they're watching Reels. So, and those, whatever it is that they're watching on social media, I'm such a dinosaur that I have no idea what's going on, but they do watch it. They are more aware. They want to be quirky. They are not afraid to be, to have that wow factor to themselves. So what I see that more and more younger ladies, almost I would say like even teenagers, like I've had a couple of clients that are like literally and they're like 14, 16 years old asking me, and they say, well, it's not whimsical enough. It's not quirky enough. I want something totally crazy.
Really?
And I am pleasantly surprised that it's happening. So my bet is on a younger generation that they're going to bring us back into wearing hats a lot more often.
Well, I've noticed, because Kathleen brought up watching what goes on the runways, I've noticed a lot more hats on the runways also. Do you think that's, that's playing
it's
into
amazing. And a lot of them are using the same fabric as the outfit and the dress, which I love. I think 10 years ago that would have been considered too matchy, but it is definitely back. It's definitely a big influence. And I do think that people outside of the United States do wear hats. Guests wear hats to weddings a lot more. That's how I kind of fell into all of this, was going home to Ireland for my family's wedding. And, you know, sometimes being disappointed to be a bridesmaid because I don't get to wear a hat. So,
well, you even see it on such hugely followed acts such as Beyonce now and Cardi B, like
Lady Gaga. Lady Gaga does a lot with that as well.
Yeah, so that's good business for you, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, where can everybody find you both on social media so they can follow along or contact you to get a hat?
Well, Fashion at the Races, just type anywhere in the Google search, Fashion at the Races, and it's the same on Instagram at Fashion at the Races. I also have a Facebook page, Fashion at the Races, naturally. Just that would be it. Message me. Where
are we going to be seeing you soon? Hopefully, what races and
everywhere.
Events?
Everywhere.
That's exciting.
We're going to Kentucky Derby. Kathleen and I are going to be hopefully covering it as media. I'm working hard on it. So it's going to be both days. Kentucky, the Oaks Day on Friday, which is a very important race. Please wear pink. Saturday, and then we're going to attend Radnor and Devon and Belmont.
Oh, okay.
And
then Galway, Ireland. That's it.
Yeah, we are doing the Galway races, which is probably the biggest racing event in Europe in terms of fashion.
Wow. Well, I hope you ladies will come back on and tell us everything that happened during this fashionable equestrian season.
And we're looking forward to seeing you there as well.
Yes,
I will be there. At least Belmont. If I can't make the other one, I will definitely be at Belmont.
Excellent.
Belmont is like I love Belmont every year.
That's my favorite.
So much fun.
Yeah.
It's New York. They got that edge to it.
Yeah.
Everybody's alive and wanting to have a good time. And I mean, not like Kentucky Derby is great, but there's just something about New York.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you, ladies, so absolutely much for joining me. And definitely check out Fashion at the Races. Go to the races. Go see Zoya on, if you need a hat or a fascinator or a hatinator or any of the new lingo that you know. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.